shopping here at Costco and came across a product that was super intriguing to me. So it's this product right here, which is Bare & Bones bone broth, but it's powdered. It sells for $10.99 and it gives you 12 sticks that you can just pour into water, and then you've got some nice beef bone broth. Now, I think this is a really good price for what you get, but I'm gonna challenge myself to make this myself at home. I'm gonna buy it and we're gonna see how it compares, homemade versus store-bought. Wish me luck. Can't leave Costco without a hot dog. Hush. I've got my beef marrow bones that I purchased from Costco. Actually, I think I got them at the Costco Business Center. I'm not positive if the traditional Costco carries these. They were in the freezer section of the Costco Business Center, kind of near other frozen meat products, but I thought this would be perfect to have my first go at making some bone broth. Our first step is to roast our bones for 1 hour at 400 degrees in my oven. So I'm just gonna get them on my pan. I'm just gonna get my oven turned on to 400 degrees and get that preheating. While those are roasting up in my oven, I'm gonna prepare the veggies that I need for the broth, which are carrot, celery, onion, asparagus. I'm just gonna chop them up like, there we go. My bones have been roasting for an hour, so they're ready to come out of the oven. Let's see how they look. My house is already smelling so good. Okay, that's hot. Ooh. Here are my beautiful roasted bones. Here are how all of my bones look inside of my crock pot. I am now just going to add my veggies, and then I'm gonna cover it with water for about 2 inches higher than the bones themselves. I'm gonna add in some like salt and pepper, and then turn this baby on to slow cook. I have freeze-dried garlic cloves that I am gonna throw a few of these in here also because I just thought that sounded good. This is looking so good. All I need to do is get my lid on. Get off of there. And turn on my crock pot. Do you remember my cute new Ninja everything cooker, I think is what it's called? So I want low, and I'm gonna turn this all the way up to 24 hours. Okay, the longest time my crock pot will set for is 12 hours, so I'm just gonna do that twice. I'm gonna hit start, and it's gonna heat up and get going. This bone broth making process was so much easier than I expected it to be. I don't know, in my head, I just thought making bone broth homemade would be so hard. This is so easy. Why haven't I been doing it for forever? I don't know. This is gonna go for 24 hours. The online, it says if your water level starts to get low, below the point of where the bones are sitting, to just add more water to it because it will like evaporate some. So I'm just gonna keep an eye on that. Check back in tomorrow for the next step in the bone broth powder making process. I forgot an ingredient. Apple cider vinegar. I'm adding a 1/4 cup. Welcome back, friends. It is the next day. My broth has been cooking, simmering here in my crock pot for almost 24 hours. We are gonna get it out and then move on to the next step in the process. I mean, I'm hoping I did this right, but I think we got ourselves some bone broth in here. It smells amazing. So what I need to do now is just strain my beef broth through a fine mesh strainer, and so we can get all the chunks out and just be left with the yummy broth, collagen filled goodness. I then need to let the broth cool a bit before I pour it onto my freeze dryer trays. I am going to be pre-freezing this in my freezer overnight. So this is how much beef broth I get. Looking at my bowl, it looks like I've got 2.5 quarts of broth. And I saved the carrots from the broth because my youngest son loves cooked carrots. Carrots infused with healthy bone broth. It's gonna be awesome. So I'm just gonna let this come to room temperature and then I will show you how I get these into my molds. I'm gonna skim any fat that has settled at the top because you don't want the extra fat in there, especially in your freeze dryer. And then I am going to be freezing these in my silicone molds. I get these molds from Harvest Right. You can check the link in my video description to take you to Harvest Right where you can find those for sale. They work really good for different kinds of things. So today I am experimenting with pre-freezing these in my silicone molds. And then when we get to the freeze dryer step, I will show you how I put it onto my trays and actually freeze dry them because I don't leave them in the molds themselves. So I did my best to skim the fat off of the top of my broth. I am just transferring it into a pitcher to make it easier to pour into my molds. Maybe should have done this in batches, but here's all my beautiful broth. To attempt to just not make a huge, enormous mess, but it looks like that's what we're working with. Okay, so I got the broth into my molds. It was a little messy. I realized that the closer I held the pitcher to the tray, the less splashes I had, but here is how we are looking. They are not perfectly even, but that's not gonna matter. I just wanna get these. I'm gonna let these cool down a little bit more. I'm gonna put my tray lids on, stack them up, and get them into the freezer. This is why I love my Harvest Right tray lids. I can stack them easily, carry them in one trip down to my basement freezer. I'm gonna pre-freeze these overnight, and tomorrow, like late morning, is when I will get these into my freeze dryer. I'll show you the settings that I'm gonna use and how I actually set up my trays. And remember how I mentioned that I skimmed the fat off of the beef broth? I saved it. This is called tallow. It is the fat from the beef, and it is so good to use for cooking. I love cooking eggs in beef tallow, meats, frying up vegetables, anything. It's kind of like a butter substitute or an oil substitute in your cooking. This stuff is golden, so don't throw out the fat, save it. I just keep it in my fridge in a little container. It's awesome. I am ready to get my freeze dryer turned on. I am gonna get it set up with my settings and then go get my trays out of the freezer. So I'm gonna go into customize, freeze -10, extra freeze time I am leaving at 0, dry temp 125, extra dry time 6 hours. I'm good with these settings. I'm gonna hit save, start, and then we wait a 15-minute cool down process. I am extremely happy because if you look out my window, it is sunny today. It's been a while since we've had a nice sunny day, so today's a good day. Here are my trays. Let's see how these are looking. I'm sorry, the humming of the freeze dryer is kind of loud. So I'm noticing these ones here in the middle still had a layer of fat on top. As I get these out, I'm gonna try to just poke that off a little bit. This one's funny, it like expanded through the fat line, but okay, let's get the cube. You can freeze dry inside of these silicone molds, but what I learned from my friends, you subscribers and viewers of mine, to not freeze dry like liquids and stuff inside of these. Pre-freeze them in the molds first, then pop them out of the molds and put them on your trays and freeze dry them that way. The reasoning behind this is that when you freeze dry them inside of the cubes, they just dry and become fairly crumbly, and so they don't pop out nice and evenly. They pop out and like leave a mess behind. So if you pop them out while they're frozen, they hopefully will stay in shape, and then you could stick them on your trays and freeze dry them that way. And then when you take them out of the freeze dryer, they will still be in their little cute cube shape. These came out pretty easily. I did struggle with this tray that had some of the fat on it. If you could see up here, I removed a lot of the pieces that had the chunky fat, and even one stayed like liquid, which is weird. I mean, there's still some fat on there that I'm just struggling to get off, so we're just gonna roll with it and see how it goes. The last thing I'm gonna do before I put them into my freeze dryer is weigh my trays. I want to be really specific with how much moisture and water gets pulled out of these so that I know exactly how much water I need to put back into it to rehydrate my trays. So I'm gonna do that really quick and then we can load them up. Should I have weighed these before I froze them? Does the weight change when you freeze something? I'm not remembering my high school chemistry days on liquids and solids, but let me know. But I weighed them, so I'm just gonna go off of this number. But if I'm wrong, then I'm wrong. All right, broth is in the freeze dryer. I get to go wash this mess. And then we are off to gymnastics and school clothes shopping. I can't believe school starts for us in 2 weeks. Like, where has the summer gone? I have no idea. I can't believe it's already coming to an end. I'm kind of ready to get back into that school routine, but also not ready, because in Alaska, it just means that cold weather is on the way. But, oh well, it's beautiful today, so I'm gonna be grateful for that. Here's what's up in Alaska today. As I said, the weather was amazing, so I took my kids to the lake near us. And we had the best time ever. We brought our paddleboard and our 2 little kid kayaks that we had and just enjoyed an amazing day. Well, actually, this was the evening. This was like 7 o'clock at night, and this is how bright it was. So it was heavenly. And in true Alaskan fashion, we had a float plane land and float right by us. It was just the coolest thing. Best night ever. My freeze dryer sensed that it was done at around 21 hours of freeze drying time. I pulled out a tray, weighed it this morning, and so now I'm gonna do my second weigh test to see if my weight has changed. But it has been 4 hours since I did that weigh test. Let's see how we're looking. My weight on my tray only changed by 1 gram, and since it's been in here for an additional 4 hours, I think 4, maybe it's been 5. I'm gonna call it good. We're gonna pull these out. These look like they turned out awesome. Here are my cute little cubes of bone broth. This is where we had that mess of kind of a melty one when it went into the freeze dryer, but it's totally dry now. And if you see, like, if you crush it, it just powders right down. The next thing I need to do is weigh all of my trays. If you remember, we weighed them before we put them in the freeze dryer. I want to know how much moisture was actually removed from my trays. So it's time for some math. 1,627 grams of water is how much was removed from the bone broth. So that's how much water we would need to return if we were reconstituting the entire thing. I'm gonna get my cubes into this bucket here. There's lots of ways that you could store your dried bone broth. I think I am going to store it in a mason jar and vacuum seal it. I'll throw in an oxygen absorber as well. That way I will just have it powdered in a jar in my pantry for whenever I want to have access to it and use it. If you wanted to do this for long-term storage, you could just stick it in Mylar bags with oxygen absorbers. That's a great way to keep it. But I think I want it in mason jars so that I'll actually use it. If I did my math right, I ended up with 81 grams of powdered bone broth. I divided the amount of water I need by the amount of bone broth that I have, and that gives me about 20 grams of water per gram of bone broth. Okay, does that make sense? I hope I did that right, but we're gonna go find out because I made chili for dinner tonight. It's sitting in the crock pot, and I am gonna add some bone broth powder and some water to the chili to add bone broth to it. And then we'll be able to try it and see how it is. Also, huge announcement. I just checked my email. Harvest Right is running a huge sale for the month of August. They are giving $500 off of freeze dryers for the entire month. This is the biggest discount that I have seen Harvest Right offer since I have been an affiliate with Harvest Right freeze dryers. So this is a great discount. This is probably the biggest discount that you will be able to get. This is their same discount that they give on Black Friday. This is what they did back in May when they were offering the Black Friday prices. So August is a good time to purchase a freeze dryer. I have a link in my video description below where you can go to check out freeze dryers. And as a thank you for supporting my channel, if you purchase a freeze dryer from my affiliate link, I send you a little thank you goodie bag that has my I freeze dry that magnet included in it with some other little goodies as a thank you to you for choosing to help me out. As always, if you have any questions about freeze dryers, what size you might be needing or how they work or anything like that, drop them in the comments below. I am happy to help you there. Mine is a size medium. It is the older version. The current size medium Harvest Right Pro version has 5 trays instead of just 4. So it's an upgrade. So I'm first gonna use my blender to powder this down. Well, I tried to avoid making a huge mess. I still kind of did. I definitely needed the blender to get this powdered down properly, but look, it all fit in one mason jar, which is awesome. Hello. So to reconstitute this, I am just gonna try to go with my math. I'm gonna add, let's say 30 grams of hot water, and that means I'm gonna add 1.5 grams of my powder. You guys, this looks so good. This looks exactly how it did when I made it. It was hard to weigh just 1.5 grams of this because it's so light, so it registered as 2 grams of powder for the 30 grams of water. I'm shocked. This is so good. This is perfect. I'm thoroughly impressed with how that turned out. That's gonna be a game changer for when I want to make soups and broths and stuff. I've got it right there in powder form. Case in point, here is my chili that I want to add about a cup of bone broth to. So I am going to do that. I also have some sourdough focaccia bread that I made this morning. This stuff is so good. If you want a video on how to make the focaccia bread, let me know in the comments. I'd be happy to do one for you guys. It is seriously easy and like the best thing you'll ever eat. I'm kind of struggling getting accurate weights of this when I'm adding it to water because this is so lightweight. So I don't know, I'm now just gonna be judging it by eye and taste on how much to add. But, so let's try this. I mean, it's great. So here's what we're gonna add to my chili. So I'm already calling my homemade bone broth powder a win, but I think we should see how it looks compared to their stick. Theirs is 15 grams of powder, and you're supposed to add 8 ounces of hot water. So theirs looks very similar to mine. Theirs might be a little bit darker in color. I don't know if it's the concentration is just stronger or if their spices and stuff they used is just different, but let's give it a taste. Theirs is really good too. And I don't necessarily know the cost comparison because I do not remember what I paid for those beef bones. I bought those like a few months ago and just kept them in the freezer. So usually mass-produced product like this, you might be able to get cheaper than making it on your own, but I didn't spend that much money, I don't think. This is looking so good. Look how yummy the sourdough focaccia is. So good. What do you like to put on your chili? I am a sour cream and cheese kind of chili girl, but if I have sliced avocado, I love that on top too. And some minced onion. Okay, I like lots of things, but today it's just cheese and sour cream. This is so good. The bone broth definitely adds a richness flavor to the chili. And it adds so much nutrients. Bone broth is so good for you. So this is a total win. If you can think of anything that you want to see me recreate in my next video, drop it down in the comments below. It doesn't necessarily have to be something to freeze dry either. It could just be a grocery store product that you love, that you want to learn how to make homemade. I love challenges, so give me some ideas. I'm gonna enjoy my dinner. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you all in the next video. Don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe so you can see all the fun things that I do here. See you later.